I've talked a lot of crap on this channel about how much I don't like the explosion of a seemingly infinite number of different color parallels over the past few years in the sports card market. That being said, I'm a silver lining kind of guy and don't like to only focus on the things that I don't like. And there genuinely are some parallels that I do like. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the base card parallels I find the most artistically or aesthetically pleasing. Let's get into this. Now, as I'm getting into these, I should first mention that I'm not suggesting any of these are good investment options or anything like that. I personally think that the huge number of color parallels in recent years hurts the long-term value of all of them. The demand, I think, will forever be spread thin, so I don't think these are necessarily good quote-unquote investment grade cards. But within the mix of these many color parallels, there are some that I personally like quite a lot. So let me show you some. I should also say that these are mostly basketball cards, since this is the realm where I find myself the most and I enjoy the most. Though most of the basketball card parallels here would also exist in football cards for the most part. Alright, the first one, 2021-22 Donruss Elite Asia Base, as well as the Asia Red Hyper and the Asia Gold Hyper. Now this is actually three different parallels here. I don't even know if you'd call the Asia Base a parallel. It's different than the normal Donruss Elite, so it's kind of a parallel, but it's the base in the Asia product. But I'm going to mention all three of these together. I think they all look really fantastic. I'm actually slowly trying to build the set of the base Asia ones, just because I think they look so cool. And since they're just basically a base card, they're not that expensive, so I'm gradually trying to put together the complete set of these ones. The Asia Red Hypers and the Asia Gold Hypers are also super awesome, though to be completely honest, just from a purely aesthetic perspective, I think I actually prefer the base ones. Next is the 2020-2021 Obsidian White Pulsar. I think these cards look phenomenal. Now I'm specifying the 2021 cards here because I like them significantly more than the 1921s, and from the pictures what I've seen of the 2021-2022 versions. There's just something about those 2020-2021 cards that hit that aesthetic sweet spot. If these weren't so rare and relatively expensive, they are a parallel that I think would be fun to chase a complete set of. But since they're so rare and so expensive, I'm probably never going to do that. That'd cost too much. Next, we have the Obsidian Red Flood. Now, generally with this list, I'm going to be trying to just use one parallel per brand, but I just love both the Obsidian White Pulsar and the Obsidian Red Flood cards so much, and in very different ways, that I felt I had to include them both in their own separate categories here. I also really like the yellow and green floods as well, which are actually more rare than the red flood, but just aesthetically, I actually do prefer the red floods more often. So I wanted it to just stand on its own. Next is the Noir Metal Frame Parallels. Now, I didn't actually even know these cards existed until I won an auction on a Noir card numbered out of 25 of DeJounte Murray, who's one of my top 5 favorite NBA players, and he's one of the players I collect for my PC. And I thought this card was just going to be a normal, low-numbered, serial-numbered parallel card of DeJounte Murray that I just liked the look of. I was like, cool, this is going to be nice. But when I got it, it had this silver metal frame along the edges of the card, and I just thought it looked really cool. It's not necessarily something that if it was explained to me that I think I would have liked, but in execution, I just really liked it a lot. I think it also just really looks good in combination with the specific aesthetic of Noir cards, which I really like, by the way. Actually, just as far as non-parallel base cards, I think Noir might be my favorite of all. Next is the 2021 Skybox Metal Universe Retro Precious Metal Gems. I really like the look of a lot of the cards in this recent Skybox Metal Universe release. If you haven't seen them, I would definitely check it out. There's so many cards in there that spark a sort of 1990s insert nostalgia in me, and I don't think a recent release has ever been able to spark that nostalgia for me. So that's pretty cool. But I think the one that I find to be the most aesthetically pleasing are the Retro Precious Metal Gems. Now, I don't know if maybe the retro cards are considered an insert, so this might be a parallel of an insert rather than a parallel of a base card, but I'm still including it here. It's my list, get off my back. Unfortunately, it's also the most expensive of the different cards in there, so the most unlikely one I'll get many of for my own PC. Next is Mosaic Genesis. Now, I'm not actually the biggest fan of the look of Mosaic overall. There's a couple of parallels that are okay, like some of the reactive ones, but by and large, I don't much like Mosaic or their parallels. But there's something about the Genesis that's just really nice. I can't even quite put my finger on what it is, but I just really do like the look of it. If I hadn't held a couple of these in hand, I probably wouldn't be putting it on a list like this. Since I have seen several in person, I really do like it. The Mosaic has a few other parallels parallels that some people really like, and I can't figure out why. For example, Peacock and Honeycomb, I know are very popular mosaic parallels. I think they look terrible. Next is the Select Dragon Scale. Now, I don't actually collect football cards for the most part, and Select's Dragon Scale parallel, as far as I know, is a football exclusive thing, but I just think they look really cool. I think part of the reason I like these is just because I've seen a lot of them in person over the past maybe year or so, and I've really gained an appreciation for their look. They might be the only animal print parallel that I like, even though dragons don't exist. So is that an animal parallel or is it a fantasy parallel? I don't know. I've seen an odd zebra or tiger that I might like, but that's more of the exception than the rule. Next to the dragon scale, maybe the elephant print one might be my next favorite, but it's a massive gap. But dragon scale I always like, even though I don't collect football, and I wish they did the dragon scale in basketball. All right, and the last one I'm gonna put a little bit of an asterisk on this one because I wanted to include something from baseball, but there's not necessarily one specific parallel that jumps out to me. Personally, in baseball, I prefer the Bowman Chrome, the Bowman Draft realm. It's just where I find to have the most fun with baseball. I don't follow Major League Baseball that well. My fun with baseball is more about like following the path of different prospects. I enjoy the minor league journey more than the Major League Baseball itself. It's just my preference. And I really like Bowman Chrome Draft Sapphire Edition. So I wanted to include that. And at first I was going to just include the base cards, but that's not a parallel. So I looked through and really analyzed like which one is my most aesthetically favorite. And I landed on the Aqua parallel. So it took me a minute to decide on this one. And I'm not necessarily saying this, I like this one significantly more than other parallels. I just wanted to include something from Bowman Chrome Draft Sapphire. And this one was my favorite of the bunch. That being said, of every card on this list, this is the only one I actually haven't held one in my hand specifically. All the other ones, you know, they've become my favorites because I've just seen them a bunch of times. And this one, I was like, I know that I want a Sapphire, I just didn't know it parallel. So, you know, so that's why I have an asterisk on this one. All right, so you probably noticed on this list that I hadn't chosen anything from Prism, Optic, or Select other than that Dragon Scale in football. I really actually wanted to include something. I looked specifically very closely at all the Prism parallels and Optic parallels, Select parallels to try to see if there was something, you know, there's a couple that maybe would make like an honorable mention list, because these are like the most iconic popular sets of recent years, so kind of wanted them to be represented on this list in some way, but I just couldn't because there really just aren't any parallels I like that much from Prism, Optic, or Select, at least not as much as the ones I mentioned here. There's some that can be cool sometimes, like the White Sparkle could maybe get an honorable mention, the Select Cosmic could maybe get an honorable mention, but otherwise, I don't know. I think I'm just too bored of seeing the base cards so often, and there are just too many unending numbers of color parallels in those three sets in particular, that basically all of the color parallels are pretty much boring to my eye now. It's like a jumbled mess. They all smash together in my mind, and I have trouble differentiating between the different parallels in those three sets because they just have, those three sets in particular have so many parallels. Another one that didn't make the list, but I kind of wanted to call it an honorable mention as well, is any of the parallels of the Chronicles Honors cards. I say any of the parallels because I think there's a different color parallel that matches each specific card better, like a jersey match kind of thing. So like if it's a Bulls player, I really like the look of the red parallel. If it's a Kings player, I really like the purple parallel, like that. But I just really do like the look of Chronicles Honor cards. As far as all of the different cards in Chronicles, they definitely stand out. You know, most of the cards in there look kind of boring to me. Phoenix is all right, but Honors just stands out. They're the ones that I really like, even though they don't have a whole lot of value, which is nice. So one of the reasons I like Chronicles, you can get some cards even if they don't have a lot of value. They have something pretty cool looking in there. Alright, but that's it for this video. If you have some favorite ultra modern color parallels, let us know what they are in the comments below. But for now, peace.